All right, I want to talk a little bit about Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin's a super interesting guy. Many of you emailed me when I said last week, who are interesting candidates on the Democratic side if Joe Biden were not to run for reelection. Many of you wrote in about Jamie Raskin, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But the news with Jamie Raskin is that in a recent interview, he says straight up, Trump will be held accountable for his crime wave. There will be consequences to Donald Trump for the things that he did. There's a Newsweek article about this, which we will look at. Guilty as sin. Jamie Raskin promises Trump will answer for crime wave. Representative Jamie Raskin from Maryland has labeled former President Donald Trump, quote, guilty as sin, while vowing that he will get his comeuppance over the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Raskin, a member of the House January 6th committee, described Trump as a one-man crime wave during a recent Salon interview. Attorney General Merrick Garland filed seditious conspiracy charges against members of the far-right Oath Keepers militia group, Raskin noted, before suggesting Garland may also choose to eventually bring criminal charges against the former president. People were on Garland's case about the fact that there had been no indictments for seditious conspiracy, and then there was a huge indictment on seditious conspiracy against the Oath Keepers, Raskin told Salon's Dino Badala, and presumably more to come. They obviously weren't the only group there. There were these overlapping circles of conspiracy to knock over the Capitol and take down our government. And the key moment, Trump will get his comeuppance, Jamie Raskin says. I know how maddening and frustrating it is to people. I share the feeling, having been an impeachment manager. He's as guilty as sin. He's a one-man crime wave, and it's amazing that his dad's money and this pack of lawyers that he travels with have been able to get him off everything up until now. I have to tell you that I, of course, hope that Jamie Raskin is correct. I am very skeptical that Jamie Raskin is correct. And I don't doubt his intentions, and I don't doubt his commitment to holding Trump accountable for all or some of the things that he did. But I am extraordinarily skeptical that Trump is going to really face consequences beyond, maybe not having a viable candidacy in 2024. But the thing I want to bring up with you now and kind of chat about is I like Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin as a Democratic presidential candidate is interesting to me. And of course, I'm not suggesting Joe Biden be primaried, although I have no moral opposition to it, although I think strong primary challenges to a sitting president are likely to hurt that party. But you guys know I don't care about the Democratic Party in any serious way. I care about who are the best people. I think a lot of you guys have convinced me that Jamie Raskin is someone that should be at least thought about as a potential presidential candidate in the future. Constitutional law professor by trade, progressive activist, like an actual activist. He was an actual member of the Progressive Caucus, endorsed by the Bernie-affiliated PAC, Our Revolution. I mean, this is a progressive guy by every reasonable assessment. Worked for the separation of church and state, true separation of church and state, worked to ban discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, did a great job during Donald Trump's second impeachment trial. I hate to say it, but I think one of the issues someone like Jamie Raskin comes up against is not insignificant amounts of anti-Semitism in the United States. And I don't mean just on the right. I've talked before about left-wing anti-Semitism, and think back to the year 2000 when Joe Lieberman was Al Gore's vice presidential running mate. Joe Lieberman was the epitome of like the uncontroversial centrist moderate. There was much more concern about the fact that Joe Lieberman wasn't really on the left than there was that he was too far on the left. And the anti-Semitism was just completely off the charts. And that was 20 years ago, before it was sort of more okay to be openly anti-Semitic as it is now in many cases. So I do think Raskin would come up against that. But I think he's an interesting guy, extremely well-spoken. I'm not going to pretend and say he's sort of the high energy, the picture of like high energy youth He's not that, but he's quite a bit younger than Joe Biden. I think a better speaker, more of an actual progressive, and a very, very interesting guy. And of course, I'm not suggesting anything about the 2024 Democratic primary. The first question is just, is Joe Biden going to run for reelection? I don't think we have an answer to that yet. When the White House is asked about it, they say Joe Biden intends to run for reelection. It's pretty narrowly worded. I don't know that we can read too much into it. But Jamie Raskin promises Trump will get his comeuppance. I hope he's right. I remain skeptical. Even if, like me, you're not vegan and you're not vegetarian, eating a more plant-based diet is a really great thing to do for a number of different reasons. And our sponsor, Just Egg, is the delicious plant-based egg. You can use it anywhere you use traditional eggs because the taste and texture are identical, but Just Egg plant-based eggs have the same amount of protein as traditional eggs. I use it all the time at home. You can make fluffy scrambled eggs. You can make omelets. You can make quiche, frittata, crepes, fried rice. You should see my fried rice recipe. You can really use it anywhere in baking or anywhere you would use traditional eggs. When I first tried Just Egg, I was surprised that a plant-based egg could both taste and cook just like traditional eggs. You can get it at the grocery store, Instacart, Amazon. Go try it. Eating a more plant-based diet is a great decision. I do it, and I'm not vegan or vegetarian, and Just Egg makes it that much more easy and delicious.